What's going on, good people? It's your boy James Harris, founder of Mental Heal, author of Man Just Express Himself. Listen, I just want to tell you guys thank you so much for the love that you continue to show me on the movement, the book, and of course now this new YouTube channel. You guys definitely did your thing with liking, sharing, subscribing. Make sure you continue to do that. I definitely appreciate you. I didn't anticipate it to grow as rapidly as it did, but we are here. So with that being said, I will be introducing a new segment that I'll be interviewing different men throughout the community as well as in different places. And I wanted to do this so you guys can not only just hear my voice and the lessons that I provide for you guys on different knowledge and subject, but I thought it would be an interesting way for other men to tell their story of resilience and their road to their wellness journey. So we're going to be talking in these interviews about mental health, physical health, relationships, substance use recovery, early detection, different societal norms, relationships, athletes and mental health, maybe politics and mental health, and the stressors that's coming from that. And also masculinity. We might dive into that as well. So it's so many amazing men who have reached out that are open to tell their story. So, I'm gonna put something together, man. One Tuesday out of the month. I think it'll be interesting for you guys to hear that dynamic. So be willing and open to listen. I hope you guys continue to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you do that. Make sure you also get the book. Go support. With that being said, the guest that I got coming up is
My name is Charles Robinson. I'm the owner of Black Folk Food. Also the executive chef at Sunday Service Soul Food here in Eastern Henrico, Virginia.
nice, man. Listen, I definitely appreciate you coming through. And for those people who don't know, October marks pretty much pregnancy and infant loss month.
Yeah.
So we often hear the perspective of women, but we have limited resources when it comes to men on how they deal with loss and their perspective. So Charles and I, interestingly enough, we've met because he was actually searching for resources, and he found my book in a barbershop, and we began, the fellowship and exchange dialogue over that. So with that, I just figured it was such an amazing journey and a way for him to tell his story in hopes to assist another father who potentially needed a resource or didn't have access to certain resources, especially during this time with not only COVID, but of course the unjust killing of African American men, and then throw in a potential loss of a child. So we're gonna talk about vulnerability. We're gonna talk about depression. We're gonna talk about grief. We're gonna talk about loss. We're gonna talk about just pretty much awareness and resources of how he was supported during this process, but of course how he supported his partner during the process. Again, it's normally limited with the resources for men. So I definitely want you guys to tune in, stay with me, like, share, subscribe. Definitely submit your questions in case you have them for Charles or myself. Now, I definitely have his information, but he's an amazing chef, so I definitely make sure I put that out there. But without further ado, man, we definitely gonna get into it. So again, it's Infant and Pregnancy Awareness Loss Awareness Month. And for people who don't know what that is, that's pretty much loss and infant death, which include, but not limited to, of course, miscarriages, stillbirth, SIDS, and of course, any other death contributing to a newborn. So within this interview or this conversation, this dialogue, feel free to get as open, vulnerable as you want to, and I definitely know and understand that, it could trigger some stuff. So we're going to get through it together, but I definitely want you to be as open as possible because there's a father out there right now who potentially need a resource.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
So I know, 2 weeks ago you had a dinner for fathers who were in a similar situation.
So on the 21st of September, we did a dinner with 4 fathers right here in Richmond who all have suffered infant loss in some form or fashion. One of the fathers had a few miscarriages. Another father lost his daughter 9 months in. Another father lost the pregnancy in the 3rd trimester. Myself, my partner and I, we lost our daughter in the 3rd trimester. And like the reason why it was like so on me to do something in this realm is because I can remember being when our loss happened in October of 2014, it was devastating. You get that crushing blow, but there was nothing for me to like reach out to or reach on to. My partner, she got pretty much all the resources from the nurses, you know, the hand her man pamphlets, you know, support groups. She seemed to have the support of her friends and, you know, her family, but
Sure.
yeah, and I wanted her to have that. You know what I mean? Like, that's a beautiful thing. But at the same time, what I realized is that, you know, even on the mother lost the child, and I understand how devastating it is, but there's a father on the other side of that isn't getting the support and the resources.
And I think, to be honest with you, that's the misconception, or the lead is, like, she carried it, she has to nurse it, she has to, you know, so of course physically and biologically she would endure more potentially, but of course the father as well has some type of connection. You know, that's his lady that he has to see within his pain and endure on top of his own feelings and things that can contribute to that, in addition to what society would cast on him to be tough, not show emotion, you know, not cry, those things like that. So particularly, how do you feel that you process within that situation?
Man, I did horribly. To be like looking back on it, you know what I mean, in retrospect. But at the same time, you know, I can't be too hard on myself because, you know, I did the best with the tools I had on hand. You know what I mean? Like, and that's all we can really do. The purpose of this conversation, you know, the conversation we're having now, the conversation I had with the fathers, the seasoning we'll get in on all that, is to provide more resources so people can have more tools to deal with this with, because like it's not going to stop happening. You know what I mean? People have pregnancies all the day. You know what I mean? Every day. You know, mothers lose children every single day, whether it be to infant loss or any kind of gun violence or whatever. It's all devastating, but it's not going to stop. So as many tools as we can get out there in the Father's hands, I think that's a great thing.
So with your personal story, you said you lost your kid in the 3rd trimester.
Yeah. So, you know, to back up a little bit, it was 2014. My partner, she came to me, you know, we're pregnant. Okay, let's do this. You know what I mean? Like, it was one of those, you know, we didn't plan for it, but at the same time, more love in the house. Let's go. You know? So, So, you know, you go to the doctor's appointments, everything's good, you know, you're thinking about names and, you know, getting the room straight, you know. So, we went to one of the doctor's appointments, and you know, they're looking at the ultrasound, you know, they start, you know, tilting their head to the left a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, you're just like, like, everything okay? They're like, yeah, we think so, you know. So, you know, they go and powwow, have their conversation. They come back and tell us that there's a cyst on the umbilical cord. They don't know if she's getting enough oxygen through, or blood through the umbilical cord. They're not really sure. They want to take a look at it. Nothing to fear, just it's beyond them, so they wanted us to go to another facility, you know. So they sent us to Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. When I heard that we were going to Johns Hopkins, I was just kind of like, okay, this is a little bit more, you know what I mean? Like, because that's one of the leading hospitals, you know, in the nation, if not, you know, the world. So I was very cautious, you know what I mean, going into the door. So we get there. They tell us that our daughter has a vestibular-allantoic cyst. That's a fancy word for a cyst on the umbilical cord that's taking away blood from reaching her. They didn't know if she was going to make it. They didn't know what was going to go on. They knew that if she did, that she was going to require some surgeries, this, that, and the third. This was only the 6th case that they had found or could document, and the first in an African-American couple. So they were, I can remember being in the room, and they're looking at the x-rays, and like, it's like 6 doctors around, and they're like oohing and eyeing, and they're like, it's almost exciting for them. Because, you know, I mean,
for them, it was
you know, I could get it. Yeah, you know, as a doctor seeing this for the 6th time, or only 6 documented time in history, the first being an African-American couple, like, you have a chance to, like, this is groundbreaking in their world, you know. But for us, it was groundbreaking on a whole nother level, because, you know, we're people. You know what I mean? Like, we don't care anything about the statistics. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care nothing about that.
So was it you guys' first child?
No, we had a healthy, baby girl running around the crib that, you know what I mean? Like, that's fine. My daughter, she's 13 now. But, so it wasn't the first pregnancy. So this was the second pregnancy, and it was, the first one went so smoothly. We just did what the doctors told us, you know what I mean? And it was like that. So, like, you're kind of thinking, okay, we good. You know what I mean? We're going in with the same attitude. So when we got that news, they kind of asked us, what do we want to do? Do you want to, continue with the pregnancy? That's on you. You can abort the pregnancy. You know what I'm saying? That's on you. Y'all have a decision to make. We went home. We had a conversation. We decided that we were going to ride this thing out as far as it was going to go. Couple months later, they're doing their checks or whatever. Couple months, maybe not even a couple months later, man. The timeline gets blurry, but I remember I was at work. I had just pretty much graduated culinary school. I'm cooking, I'm doing my thing in the kitchen. And I was in Fredericksburg, in the kitchen in Fredericksburg, and she was coming down to Richmond to get her doctor's appointments. She called me, we're in the middle of dinner service. She calls me and tells me that they can't find a heartbeat. I immediately, you just kind of go into shock, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know what to do, you're an hour away, I'm starting my career, you know what I mean? Like, and I have to go. You know what I mean? Like, it's
definitely important.
I have to go. So, like, all of those things just kind of rush through at one time. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, and you make a decision. So I get on the highway, I shoot down. By the time I get there, they tell me that, like, our daughter's already gone. She was 5 months into the pregnancy. And, they were like, she's already gone. And we're going to have to induce, her so she can pass her. That was the part that made it very real. You know what I mean? Because it was like, we're still going to have to give birth here. But I'm not going to hear her cry. I'm not going to hear her nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going home with anything. It feels wrong, So, we went through the procedure. I could just remember, like, when they discharged her, and I had a car seat. You know what I'm saying? Like, already ready. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, right. And it wasn't in the car yet, but it was in the trunk. I had, put it in the trunk, still in the little box, and I went and opened up the trunk to, like, put her stuff in. I saw a car seat. You know what I mean? That's what made it very real. You know what I mean? And for a while, like, I couldn't look at car seats. You know what I'm saying? Like, it becomes that triggering. You know what I mean?
And remember.
Right, so you go home and you're just trying to be a rock for your partner who has just went through one of the most traumatic experiences of her life. Yeah. You know what I mean? And to, like, number one, in womanhood, to be able to grow a child and bring life into this world out of I don't want to say nothing, but, like,
a seed.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
it's a phenomenal process.
Yeah, it's life is so fragile. You know what I mean? And so to, like, just watch that process and to see her go into that kind of depression. We talk about postpartum depression with women, when they have a child, but to watch her kind of go into a very dark place.
So a lot of people don't know that the effects of loss can vary from individual to family units who experience bereavement. Some of those effects can definitely be depression, anxiety, and of course post-traumatic stress disorder. Right. And it can alter the dynamics of relationships. Not only from an individual standpoint, but you guys' standpoint as a couple.
Right.
So, hey, we're gonna continue to get into it. So just make sure you like, share, subscribe. We got so much more coming up, especially on this sensitive, touching topic that men aren't have access to resources for. So just continue to stick with us, man. We're gonna continue to dive into it, continue to get his personal take, and provide different insight and resources. So from a personal standpoint, though, How do you feel as far as you guys' relationship? Did it bring you closer together? Did it create barriers between you two? Was it like resentment there? Was it guilt? Was it anger?
It was a lot of everything. I feel like it brought us closer together in the sense that like this was something that me and her experienced. You know what I mean? Like only we shared. It was shared trauma. You know what I mean? And a lot of times we're attached on to people or places where you experience traumatic deaths or whatever it may be, because you feel like that's the only person who really understands.
Yeah, because you guys went through it together.
We went through it together. You know what I mean? That was my rock. That's my ace. You know, but at the same time, there was a lot of guilt on my end. There was resentment on my. I'm gonna speak for myself. I'll let her tell her side when she's ready. But I felt guilty because you start to think like, why did this happen? Like, is it something I did? Is it karma? Is it something I did from my past that's now coming to bite me? Like, is it? Then it turns into, well, maybe it's not me. Maybe if she would have ate better. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like it's the brain starts playing very.
Yeah, you're trying to figure out ways to pinpoint what happened.
What happened? Like if you would have listened to the doctor more, like you start to put it back on them. So like then the barrier goes up.
The barrier, and in actuality, it's nothing.
It's nothing. Yeah, you can't pinpoint it on anything. You're just searching.
So for the people who don't know, in the stages of grief, there is a stage called bargaining, which you pretty much just explained.
Wow.
You start trying to figure out, hey, just let me, you try to figure out what happened and how it happened. If you're unfamiliar with the stages of grief, it's definitely a stages of grief video on my YouTube. Feel free to check that out. It's also a depression video for men on my page as well. So fellas, definitely check that out, man. But so what process do you feel that you use to, I guess, I don't want to say cope, but deal with the...
I kind of buried myself in work. Like I said, there aren't like a lot of resources for men. So, once we experienced the death, it was more so like, okay, here's your 3 days of bereavement. Like, you got to get back on it. Mm-hmm. I remember I catered my first event 3 days after, you know what I mean? Like, I experienced that loss, so it was very real, I just went head first. My partner, she was very, she got a little bit more time just because her body physically went through, having to pass a child. So she got her 6 weeks, this, that, and the third. But just having to come home and watch her self-medicate, even like aiding in it, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna bring home the bottle of wine for you because I know that's what you asked me for, and I don't know what else to do. You know what I mean? And just watching her like deteriorate, you know what I mean, into like not physically, but like just she became a shell of herself. You know what I mean? Like she went into some very dark spaces in her life, and you try to be the rock. It's supportive at the time, but at the same time, you're feeling a lot of the same emotions.
So, pretty much throughout the journey, you was assisting her as much as you could while ignoring your own.
Oh yeah,
overworking.
Completely ignoring how I felt. I almost felt like I couldn't break down because if I did, would that trigger her? You know what I mean? Like, would I? I'm trying to be this man that society has taught us to, be. My daughter at the time, I think she was like maybe 7, 8 years old. She's about 6 or 7. She's peeing in the bed now. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was never an issue, but she's experiencing trauma from the situation. And so like you're just managing it all without really dealing. And then people would come over to the house and visit, and then, I open up the door, hey Charles, how you doing? I'm cool. Okay, where's John? And then rush to her. You know what I mean? Like, I'm taking coats. You know what I mean? Like,
so no real comfort for
yeah, Charles. And then even with my friends, I guess they just didn't know what to say. I mean, I wasn't the first one that experienced an infant loss out of my group of friends, but like even then I didn't know what to say to them. They don't know what to say to me. It's just something men don't really share.
Bruh, it's so much missing within this realm of men expressing themselves,
Right.
displaying certain
Period,
emotions and
yeah.
stuff like that. So I can only imagine how that is. And to be honest, that's why my platform has elevated the way it is,
Right.
because men are searching for these outlets, and their partners, their moms, their
Right.
aunts are encouraging them
Right.
to find these outlets.
Right.
So I'm just fortunate enough to be in a position to provide and be an assistance with my platform.
Right.
So before we get into ways that people can, I guess, assist their partner or assist themselves, you threw yourself into work and you created a masterpiece within that.
Yeah.
I know your chef is amazing.
Thank you.
And your project now is a seasoning. So
Right.
let's talk a little bit about that, and then we can get into steps and ways that you can assist somebody who's suffered one of these tragic situations.
All right, so like back to Black folk food, we were, it's a brand. I go into people's homes, I cook for them, whether it be catered events or whatever it may be. What I would do is I would go into people's homes and they wouldn't have everything I needed. So I began to make like a season off that I could just carry with me into their homes, and then I could season up from what they had, So I made this blend. A couple of my, clients were like, yo, can you leave that with me? I was like, all right, cool, here you go. Then they're coming back, you got any more? You know what I mean? Like, so I started thinking like, they're like, you can really sell this stuff, So I started patching it up, had the Black folk food base season, boom. Does very well, I'm thankful for that. That was, killing all summer, and as I began to go into the fall, I started thinking about like, okay, well, maybe it's time to do something else. Maybe I should try out, a fall flavor. So, talking back and forth to like some of my homies and stuff, and they were like, yo, you should do like a pumpkin spice type deal. And I'm like, I'm not really feeling pumpkin spice, but maybe if I put my spin on it, we can make it happen. So I started playing with some stuff, and as I'm playing with the spices, I'm thinking about the name, I'm thinking about the time of year, like all the smells, and like, we had named our daughter Autumn. She was born October 22nd, 2014, born still. So we named her Autumn Clover, and it just, as I was mixing the spice, man, it just was Autumn Clover spice. Now, it was a great way to commemorate my daughter and her legacy, and what that did. But I wanted to do more. I didn't want to just make a seasoning, sell it with her name on it, and that be it.
Yeah.
I wanted to help. I can remember feeling, it triggered something in me. So I called one of my cousin, who had experienced an infant loss about 6 months before I did. And I just told him exactly like, yo, like I have to do something. I don't know what that something is, but I have to do something. We started brainstorming. I sell this spice for $8, the Black folk food seasoning. So I was like, I wanted to do this one for $8 as well, that price point. But at the same time, I wanted to be able to donate. I wanted to be able to give something, a percentage of this to an organization that was going to get somebody some help.
Definitely.
So I said, well, I'm gonna make it $10.22. Her birthday, 10/22. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then
that's dope.
right,
Yeah.
and then the 2/22, I'm gonna donate to an organization. So boom, that's done. I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling really good. I'm pumped. Get online. I'm going to go find like men and infant loss. I Google it, nothing pops up. You know what I mean? I was just like, yo, like here it is 6 years later.
And it's
still nothing. You know what I mean? And that's when like it really turned in me. Like, okay, I'm a chef. I have a season, yes, but like, what can I really, really do besides just who do I even get the money to?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was getting discouraged, but so I decided to do a dinner. I said I'm gonna find. I know my cousin had experienced an infant loss. Another partner of ours, we consoled when he had his infant loss 2 years ago. I called him. We ended up finding 2 more fathers. So we had a group of 5 men, and I was just like, okay, this is great. Let's have a conversation. I'm gonna cook for you guys. Let's have a conversation. Talk about our experience. We're gonna film it, and we're just gonna release the conversation. So we had that dinner back on the 21st. That dinner is going to come out. I mean, the actual product is going to come out on the 22nd of this month. So on my daughter's birthday, we're going to release that conversation fully edited. The Autumn Clover Spice is still running. You can go to blackfolkfood.market and get that. But to come back to the donation part.
Yeah.
Come back to the donation part. I'm looking for somebody to donate to. I'm not finding anything. I go to my barbershop to get my hair cut, and I walk in and I see a stack of books. He always has books, you know what I mean? Like just different stuff. And it said Men to Heal. And I said, I remember seeing the t-shirts around the city, you know what I mean? I'm like, do you know him? He was like, yeah, I could put you in contact with him, whenever. So I was like, I bet. So I take a picture of the book, put it on my Facebook, and was just like, I just got this book. It's just crazy how the universe works. Before, he could even give me your contact, friends of mine were tagging you in, you know what I mean, inside the joint, So I just took it as an omen. I was just like, okay, since nothing exists, maybe put in something in the hands, put in finances, you know what I'm saying? Like in the hands of someone who's already doing the work, you know what I mean? Whether it goes directly to infant loss or not, like you're dealing with men and trauma, you know what I mean? And healing, like this, and I can touch you.
We right here.
You know what I mean? Like, so I didn't, it wasn't like at first I was going to like mentoheal.org or something like that. I was going to give it to them, but at the end of the day, like the amount of money we were going to give to them would have been a drop in the bucket, versus being able to give that to somebody I know who's on the ground, who it could go further and I can actually see, you know what I mean? Like more of the results. So
salute to that barbershop, man.
Yeah. Your boy barbershop,
definitely, man.
Right on Genital. Yeah.
And funny enough, we shot a documentary there a year or two ago, and it got picked up by the Richmond Film Festival.
Yeah. Roscoe Burnhams, I think he was in that.
He was in that.
Yeah.
It was me, him, and maybe 10 other guys.
So
we was fortunate enough, man, for that.
That's dope.
So the barbershop has definitely been a mecca and a place to where men can come and process. I'm just so happy that you were able to see one of my books in the barbershop. And he probably bought maybe 10 of them or something. And his wife came to my book fest. And she bought 4 or 5.
They fully support, man.
Yeah, she do. She give away boxes.
She gives away the boxes. So they do the. I think it's Ancestor. I can't remember what it's called. Exquisite Ancestor boxes, and Julian does the King. I can't remember the name of the boxes, but we'll get all that information. But
I definitely appreciate them, man. Julian, good luck, man. I'm glad you had my stuff on hand. I'm glad you was able to do that. But yeah, like my phone was going off because people was tagging me in the joint. Like, yo, what's up? So, I just figured like, all right, cool. I can be a resource to him. Help him find whatever it is he needs. And then you started talking about the donation piece. And I was opposed. I'm like, nah, bro, you good? He was like, nah, man, I got to give it to somebody. So I was like, all right, cool. We can figure it out. And the day of your dinner is I was out of town and I was coming into town. But I didn't want to crash. It was going to be too late or whatever.
I get it. We had an awesome conversation, man. It was 5 men. We all told our stories. We were there to support one another the best way we could. They were. I want to commend those dudes because they were so vulnerable in that space. A lot of the times, like they shared things that they were just processing, and they shared stories that some of them said, my wife doesn't even know this. So like
that's how it be.
And out of her own protection almost.
It is, and like oftentimes, like you found, is not spaces for them to process this. So half the time, like I meet people, they say, "Listen, I ain't telling nobody this." And I'm like, "Oh man, like this is." Huge news. I've had so many of those stories over the past couple of years. I'm like, oh man, like that would have helped you a long time ago. Or potentially assisted you. So that's a hell of a segue. So we're gonna get into ways that you can assist somebody, whether it's man or woman, the partnership, the family dynamic, in ways that they can better cope and use different strategies in this potential infant loss. So again, definitely thank you for being open and vulnerable and stuff like that. You guys definitely support this seasoning, both of them. And if you're in the Richmond area, definitely support my man. Book them for a date night experience. He'll definitely come out to your house, chef it up for you and your partner, and you guys can discuss my book over dinner. So healthy way to exchange dialogue. So feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I'm definitely going to put his website in the bottom of this as well. But some different steps that people can use to assist each other, whether it's the male or the woman, or you want to bring your children involved as well for this bereavement process. You got to comfort each other. You definitely got to talk, allow each other to express emotions that otherwise wouldn't be held or wouldn't be said, because it's something that needs to be said, whether that's, hey, I apologize, we didn't make it. Thank you. We're going to get through this. We're going to continue to move on. Just so the person to know that they're there. They got the shoulder, they got this ear to lean on, and afterwards, potentially, you may not still be in a position to or be equipped enough to support this person, but just being there as an ear can help that situation.
90% of the battle. Yeah. I think it was important, not to cut you off or anything, but just like you said, when it was time to be together and try to comfort one another, that was the part that I missed. You know what I mean? Like, I can look back on it and say, okay, that's where I might have went awry, because I was so into my work at that moment in time. Like, I dove head first into it. I didn't want to be around it. So
that was your way of coping.
That was my way of coping. That wasn't what my family needed in that moment in time. So like, then years later you bear a lot of guilt about it. So it's a thing that you're always unpacking when you're dealing. It's not like, oh, I'm over the loss of my daughter. Like, you have to get over the experience, or get through the experience. Definitely. And that's an ongoing thing,
So some other ways that you guys can assist each other is definitely getting professional help. So whether that's locating a mental health provider, I know like your lady, she had tons of resources. She probably got them from her OBGYN, the prenatal doctors and different stuff like that, but it was limited access for you. So the mental health support piece is definitely critical, for you to process those stages of grief, for you to process that depression that you was potentially in, that traumatic experience that you potentially had from being triggered from, seeing that car seat over and stuff like that. So a mental health professional definitely can assist you with that. And of course, you definitely want to, reach out to as many resources as you can, your friends and family. You already got a connection with a couple of different other guys who potentially had the losses as well of their children. So those things are definitely critical to have as much support as you can. And be attentive to your own health and your partner's health, because again, so physiologically and psychologically, she went through some stuff, but psychologically, you went through some stuff. So you definitely got to be attentive to each other and just ensure that you guys are still being healthy, although not to settle in that depressive state. You still got to get moving. You still got to ensure that your nutrition is right, proper rest cycle, sleep cycle, and stuff like that. Just to have an overall balance, just so she can bounce back and you can bounce back as well. Avoid those common pitfalls too is something that's critical that a lot of people don't do. So they try to overstep the grief as if it's not there. You definitely got to process it. And of course, you guys hear me say this enough. Well, don't hear me say it enough. Some of you probably do, but fellas, feel your feelings. Definitely go through those emotions. You're human. Ignore the perception of others. If you want to cry, definitely cry. If you want to laugh and find joy, then do that as well. But also feel those other feelings, those emotions. You got to process them. You got to let those things out. Don't reinforce the blame on her or yourself, or don't feel guilty. Don't get in a bargaining state because what happened. So it's important that you guys move forward from it and you establish which way to continue to support each other. So those things are important. Definitely encourage rest and relaxation. I don't know if you guys did yoga or meditation afterwards. Deep breathing exercises. Those things can help because throughout that process of grieving and bereavement, like we forget how important it is to just sit and think.
Right.
You know, so deep breathing is definitely important. There's a deep breathing video on my YouTube as well if you are unfamiliar with the mindfulness and deep breathing exercises. So definitely you want to just ensure that you're getting back centered and grounded.
Right.
You know, and to be honest with you, something that I did for a couple of my clients is have them write.
Yeah.
So not only, so I had them do write maybe 2 to 3 times. One to their partner, one to the child who was lost.
Yeah.
So of course this depends on where they are in the process, because I was careful to not trigger or bring in, reintroduce any memories that might be associated with the loss. But if they were farther along in the healing process and they found it to be therapeutic as an exercise or as an intervention, they definitely did that. And they were thankful for it. So the letters, of course, you can exchange it with your partner, and then the one to your unborn child, you guys can definitely talk about that as well. And they found it to be helpful and therapeutic. As closure even. So I don't know if you guys did that exercise.
Yeah, we actually before I became a chef, I was a poet. So I write all the time, even even if it's not in a poetic sense or shared in a poetic sense, I still do a lot of writing. So and she was a theater teacher, so writing scripts and all that kind of stuff was right up the alley. So that letter sharing was one of the things that helped us when we couldn't say the things, to each other. You know what I mean? Like,
so listen, I guess that y'all definitely was on point with that, man. But again, like if you need any other resources, I know it's so limited for men out there. So definitely hit me up, mentoheal.com, mentoheal.com. I'm gonna put Charles' information in here as well. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Just so we can continue to bring awareness to the men who are potentially affected by infant loss and don't have resources, don't have access and availability to certain things. Charles, go ahead and throw that seasoning up there, man.
It's autumn clover spice. It is a fall spice. It has a cinnamon base, nutmeg, ginger, cardamom. I do a little something different in it. Orange zest, mint, and coffee goes into this spice right here. It's great on ice cream. If you're doing your sweet potato pies for the holidays, shake some in there. It'll be good with some brown sugar. The base seasoning is also available on the site, www.blackfolkfood.market. You can get both things there. This is the one that helps out the guys, though. This is the one that helps out the fellas. So if you go to the website, you can go to it. We'll ship it out to you. Proceeds go directly to this gentleman right here, so we can continue to get this work done. We continue to get channels like this into more people's hands. We continue to have more dinners and affect more fathers, and just talk about, even if not infant loss, we can talk about something else. So it's not just about seasoning food. It's about seasoning our souls. You know what I mean, and marinating those things as well. So I'm thankful for platforms like this. I'm thankful that we've had support thus far. Look out on the 22nd of this month. You'll be able to sit with us in that dinner and hear the majority of the things that were said in that capacity. Hopefully it gets to the right hands where somebody can take it and run with it further than you and I can in this moment in time, man. And just continue to heal yourselves, fellas. Not just to the men, but we speaking to as men right now. Just continue to heal yourselves, whether it's mentally and through our bodies. All of those things go hand in hand to be sustainable, healthy men that we need to be in our society and for our families.
My man, definitely appreciate you. Hey, you guys, make sure you continue to tune in, like, share, subscribe. Definitely thank you. I continue to bring interesting perspective from different people throughout the community on that healing journey or that physical journey, just overall men's wellness. So definitely appreciate you guys.